As diehard as us fixed gear riders can be about our preferred choice of drivetrain, fixed gear is a niche form of cycling because at the end of the day, it's really not for everyone. One of my buddies in college saw how much fun that I have riding my fixed gear and also thought that the bikes look so cool that he wanted to get one himself. So we took all of his measurements, finally ordered him a Kilo TT, and when he got it, he threw a leg over it and absolutely hated it. So he went down to the bike shop and got him a freewheel. And fixed gear is pretty polarizing. You either love it or you hate it. For some people, they try fixed gear, like me. The first time I ever threw a leg over a fixed gear, I absolutely fell in love with it and knew that I didn't really care to ride anything else. But for some people like my friend, he just absolutely never wanted to ride it again because it was so different. And here are 5 reasons why people hate fixed gear bikes. This video topic was inspired by Pathless Pedal's video on 4 reasons why people hate gravel bikes. Go ahead and subscribe to them after you're done watching this video, and you can watch their video by clicking the card above. Speaking of subscribing to Pathless Pedals, you should subscribe to me because according to my YouTube stats, about 54% of you that watch my videos aren't actually subscribed to the channel. So if you find that you like this video, find it helpful, do yourself a favor and hit the subscribe button, the bell icon, and the like button so you can watch more fixed gear videos just like this one. Subscribing is totally free and you can unsubscribe at any time. And if you're one of those people that find yourself in the camp that absolutely loves fixed gear bikes because they are so fun to ride, a portion of this video was sponsored by Wabi Cycles. Stick around till the end of the video to learn more about the only bike that I own, the one that I ride on a daily basis, my Wabi Special. The main draw of a fixed gear bike is that you can't coast on it. If the wheels are turning, you have to keep turning the cranks, and that lends itself to a very connected feeling with the bike, but for some people, it's just too weird of a feeling to ever get used to. Most people grow up riding bikes that have the ability to coast. If you get tired, you can coast. If you're going down a hill, you can coast. It's useful to coast, and it can also just be a nice thing to do sometimes when you're riding your bike. For people that are into fixed gears, we like that connected feeling with the bike, but for people that aren't die-hard fixed gear riders, that fixed gear connected drivetrain can feel like the bike is actually fighting against you, or like the bike has a mind of its own, and it can make the bike feel unsafe for people that really don't like fixed gear bikes. Descending on a fixed gear drivetrain, whether you have brakes or not, usually is going to take a lot more energy than if you do it on a bike that can coast and the one that has brakes. Because while descending on fixed gear, you have to keep scrubbing your speed so that you can maintain a comfortable cadence to pedal at. Meaning you'll be going down mountains a lot slower than if you were just able to coast. And for a lot of people, descending is the most fun part of cycling, and having to sacrifice any of your speed there is just too much of a sacrifice to make. As the fixed gear name implies, you're stuck with one gear. A lot of fixed gear riders take pride in the fact that because we only have one gear, that forces us to become stronger riders if we want to go faster over different terrains. If you can climb a mountain on a fixed gear bike as opposed to a road bike or any other type of geared bike, that is a much bigger accomplishment. But for some people, that's just too much pain. You have to be somewhat of a masochist and enjoy the process of torturing yourself in order to enjoy fixed gear riding, especially if you're doing long rides, especially if you're doing a lot of climbing. And a lot of people out there find riding a bike difficult enough as it is, and that is a completely fair point. Most people who are going out to ride a 5,000 foot mountain don't need that ride to be longer and much more difficult. At the end of the day, gears are useful. They allow you to ride over more terrains, they allow you to pedal at a more efficient cadence, and allow you to ride faster. And fixed gear throws all of those advantages out the window. A lot of people also hate fixed gears because they're too bare bones. A lot of the appeal from fixed gear bikes is that they are aesthetically clean and minimalist. Everything you need, nothing you don't, including, oftentimes, mounts for useful things like racks and fenders. Most fixed gear bikes were made for racing on the velodrome, and for racing on the velodrome, you don't need racks and fenders, and so they've remained completely bare bones, making it a bit of a problem if you ever want to carry stuff on your bike instead of in a bag. There also tends to be limited geometries, with super steep and aggressive seat tube and head tube angles and a short wheelbase, to make the bike feel responsive when putting power through the pedals. But for people that want a more relaxed and comfortable fixed gear, your options are going to be much more limited, just because everything about fixed gears tends to be in a small bubble and not really deviate much from that bubble. While this one isn't necessarily true, there is some truth to it. Fixed gears are for hipsters. And I've been to a lot of group rides, and the fixed gear scene definitely skews young. So if you're an older person and you're looking to socialize through cycling, it's possible that you may feel a bit out of place if you try to get into the fixed gear scene. With that said, there are definitely older people in their 30s, 40s. I'm sorry if you took offense to me calling people in their 30s old, 50s and 60s that are into fixed gear cycling, but the bulk of fixed gear riders are going to be in their mid-20s or younger. Because fixed gears, they look really cool, and young people like things that look really cool. Some of us can be very judgmental about other people's bikes and how other people ride their bikes, making fixed gear riding not fun for other people just because they do something differently. And yeah, that's kind of shit. But still, remember that this elitism out in person and out in the wild is usually few and far between, and when you do encounter an elitist, they're usually just doing it in jest, and they don't actually care about how your bike looks or how you ride your bike. But rather, elitists do this as a way to just give a jab and to try to start conversation, because a lot of elitists, surprise, don't really have good people skills. And because us fixed gear riders love our bikes and talking about our bikes so much, it can oftentimes put an emphasis on how cool our bikes look rather than what's really important, riding our bikes and going out and having fun, which can be a turnoff to more competitive people or people looking to go on epic adventures. And number one, fixed gear bikes are really behind the times. A lot of fixed gear riders like to point out that the fixed gear bicycle was the first type of modern bicycle, that is, one with the same size wheels and that uses a drivetrain. And some fixed gear riders may even like to point out to other cyclists that the first Tour de France was ridden on fixed gear bikes. But unless you're someone that really appreciates that aspect of cycling history, it may seem like old news or irrelevant to you. And that's one big drawback of fixed gear bikes. They are super behind the times when it comes to any new cycling tech, which can be both a good and a bad thing. It can be a good thing because fixed gear bikes stick to the standards and to the way things work. If you get a new fixed gear frame set, you don't have to worry about swapping your components over. You don't have to worry about switching from rim brakes to disc brakes. You don't have to worry about one frame having a threaded bottom bracket versus a press fit bottom bracket. Everything just works together. But that can be a bad thing because the fixed gear world is extremely slow to adopt new tech, even tech that is better in the cycling world. For those of you that like to be on the bleeding edge of cycling and of technology, looking at fixed gears can feel like visiting Amish country. By and large, fixed gear bikes today look mostly the same as the fixed gear bikes that were ridden in the first Tour de France in 1903. What you'll find is that the vast majority of fixed gear frames are still made out of steel. Yeah, steel. Sometimes they're aluminum with a carbon fork. That is pretty technologically advanced for a fixed gear rider already. None of them have disc brakes, if they even have brakes at all. Most of us are still using tubes and haven't made the switch to tubeless, nor do we have the desire to do so. And most of our components are still made out of aluminum, which is so 90s. So if you're someone that is trying to get the most performance out of your bike possible, or someone that's excited to see the new innovations in the realm of tech and cycling, fixed gear is the last place that you would want to be, and is another reason why people hate fixed gear bikes. And I'm curious to hear about what are some other reasons that you guys can think of that I didn't mention in this video as to why people hate fixed gear bikes. Because while they are the perfect bike for some people, they are definitely not for everybody. And that's perfectly okay. Just ride what you love and love what you ride. Speaking of loving what I ride, I really love to ride my bike my Wabi special. And luckily this portion of the video is sponsored by Wabi Cycles.
Every one of Wabi's design choices are meticulously made to give the purest ride quality for the money, and Wabi executes those choices perfectly, handmade by master craftsmen in Taiwan in a friendly bike shop in Denver, Colorado, that is eager to answer your questions and get you on a bike that you'll love. Wabi's relentless attention to detail results in Wallace, my daily 58cm Wabi special, weighing in at 17.5 pounds or 7.97 kilos straight out of the box. That's well under 20 pounds for a stock bike with a completely steel, lugged frame set and no carbon components. That attention to detail results in the best riding experience I've ever had, with a snappy, lively ride quality that only top-tier steel can bring. If you're looking for the bike that could very well put an end to your search for the perfect bike, check out Wabi, linked at the top of the description.
Fixie famous shoutouts to Brandon Black, Kelvin Ho, Zane Kolnik, OC Bike Crew, the Fix Federation, Ryan Witt, Stan Strong 108, Julian Corona, David Klippens, Ellie Lovelace, and Justin Javier for helping to make these fixed gear videos possible through their support on Patreon. And remember that life is short, but don't make it shorter, so ride your bike every day to be reasonably dangerous.